Here at MacGyver's Workshop, we build, fix, or re-engineer just about anything. You never know what we'll be working on next, and if you're not too careful, you just might learn something. Hi there, welcome to MacGyver's Workshop. Today, I've got my nice new desk in place, and we finished the epoxy resin glaze over it. Now I'm going to have to let it cure probably for at least a week or so, because even though it's nice and hard, it's still pliable, and it won't get really glass hard for, it may take a few weeks with as cold as it is. And what brings up another point, it's about 33 degrees outside today, and even without the insulation in the ceiling yet, we've got it about probably 45-50 degrees in here. So insulating that far wall really made a huge difference. And once I get the ceiling insulated, I'm going to use the rest of my extra insulation over there to get started on that. I think we're going to notice a really marked difference in how comfortable it stays in here. And it stays pretty comfortable as it is, but it's only going to get better. And we don't want to spend a whole lot of money heating or cooling this space. So anyway, moving right on. Okay, let's get a little closer look at the nice new desk here. And as I said in my previous video, the engineering challenge for this desk was to not have anything going down to the floor. Keep the floor open so I can roll that dolly out. Just roll it out this way and it'll come right out. And obviously I've got other stuff piled on it right now that would have to come out, but regardless, it has that's the perfect place for that dolly to store. I didn't plan it that way when I built the dolly. I've had the dolly built for a few years before I even started building the workshop, but it just happens to magically fit in there so perfectly. So this was a small little challenge as far as engineering challenges go. The side of the desk here has this big triangle of 3/4 inch plywood that bolts to the side frame of the desk down there and acts as a huge support bracket, and that really makes this very, very strong and negates the need for a leg to go all the way down to the floor. And then I know in my last video I talked about putting a cross brace all the way across and all that, and as usual I over-engineered or over-analyzed everything and realized that with 11D5 screws going through the back bracket there into the wall, really all I needed was just a little drop down here to hold it up, and that's more than adequate. So of course mounted me a little power strip there. It just goes up to this outlet, and it's secured to the backboard there, and that'll allow my computer and monitor, or two depending if I hook all that stuff up, will plug in there. And then I left plenty of room down there at the bottom for a wart power supply for my Autel scanner. If I hook it up to get updates and all that stuff and plug it into the computer, it needs to be powered. So just little things you think about when you're building stuff and ahead of time, so everything is nice and convenient when you go to use it. And I didn't drill a hole, cable hole for the little plastic puck thing that you run your wires down through. I will if I need to, but I'm going to wait and see how I do it first. I may just mount, my computer is a slimline computer that I'm going to use and it may just mount up underneath this quite nicely, and then I'll just run the cables down and up across the back to the two monitors. So, but we'll see how that goes. But anyway, so moving right along here. Okay, now I'm moving along here. I'm going to start putting some insulation up. But one of the things you want to do is make sure that you seal any cracks where air from outside can get in. And up here in the wintertime, the wind tends to blow a lot, so you know, it's extra important, because you know, if the wind's blowing in and it's making your insulation cold, then it's not going to do any good for you. So if you look up here and zoom in, see where there's any cracks, like where the trusses go out and to the outside, any little cracks right there, I've went ahead and filled with spray spooge, and that seals all the air infiltration. And then we'll put our insulation up. And here they call it great stuff, expanding or insulating foam sealant. So I just call it spray spooge, and goes into cracks, expands, hardens into like a foam plastic, and seals up all the gaps and cracks and such. So, and then once you're done with that, then we start getting busy with our insulation. And you can see right along the edge of the wall there, I'm putting my insulation in. Going for the best bang for the buck right at the moment with what insulation I have left. Go around the perimeter as best I can, and that's where most of my problems, where I know the heat's going to rise up through the center, but we'll just have to get to that when we can. But as it is right now, when I came in here this morning, it was about 45 degrees, and I ran my little propane heater for just a few minutes to knock the edge off in here, and then the little rinky-dink space heater keeps it comfortable in here. And that's, like I said, without any insulation. So it's going to get a lot better the further we go along. And I'll have to do the insulation a little bit at a time as I get money, because I'm going to need a lot of insulation to do that sealing. And those bundles over there, you can see on the top of the OSB, one bundle of that stuff, if you go to the big box stores, they're about $45, $50 sometimes for each bundle. I get them at a local builder supply, little mom and pop shop. It just goes to show you how those guys jack their prices up. You know, this is Owens Corning R30, and it's anywhere from, you know, $45 to $60 a bundle at Lowe's or Home Depot, and they sell it all day long for like 36, 37. So just pays to shop around a little bit. And you never know, you know, you keep an eye on Craigslist, you know, you might find somebody selling off a bunch from a, you know, a contractor from a big job and needs to get rid of it, because it is a bit unwieldy to store. Okay, now I'm going to address something that, you know, y'all may or may not know, but it's a nice little trick that works for me. Now, I had to get a little creative with the spacing on my trusses here, whereas these trusses, this last truss on out is right at 48 inches. But to accommodate the stairwell and the thickness of the wall, I had to space the next row a little closer together. So that's only about 31 inches instead of 48. So, you know, your normal bats of insulation come in 48 inches, so you have to cut them. And that's a miserable experience for most people. And now, of course, it used to be you needed to wear like a monkey suit or something to work with this stuff. But now they've got it to where, you know, you don't get all itchy and so forth. Owens Corning calls it Eco Touch, and but I wouldn't recommend snorting it or anything. But as far as working with it, you don't get all, you know, itchy and scratchy every time you work with it. And but anyway, if you measure out where your cut's going to be, and then you lay down a couple of boards that you can kneel on, and what that will do is that compacts the insulation down really tight. And then you just take your knife, I'm trying to do this with just me using the camera here, and you just take your knife and go down through like that. You know, nice sharp cutter knife. Of course, that's catching stuff, but anyway, and you don't try and do it all at once. Make you a couple of cuts till you get down to the paper, and then take one final nice cut there, and that'll do it. No mess, no fuss. There you go. Nice, pretty clean cut. So, and then that'll go up in my next row there on the far wall. So just a little, you know, helpful, handy hint from MacGyver's workshop. Now we're going to move on, and I'm going to start putting some of this up.